Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 176th ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the Revel Advertising Studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing great, Cam. We're back in the studio.
Oh, yeah.
We're on a little bit of an irregular schedule, but we're back, and that's great.
Yeah, we had to pause the program for COVID testing protocols, but negative tests, all good. Everybody's healthy, good to go. We're right back at it. What do you think of that national championship game last night?
That was pretty good. It was a very close game, really, throughout. Obviously, Jamison Williams going down was awful for Alabama, and it kind of felt like their offense really suffered after he was gone. But I mean, it's kind of cool to see Georgia win, though, and get that monkey off their back a little bit. And I don't know. I think they deserved it. They had an amazing season.
Yeah, it almost makes the SEC championship game seem a little fluky because of how many points Georgia gave up when they didn't give up anything like that all year. I was kind of watching the game off and on because I was busy modding my PlayStation 3 to play the new version of NCAA Football 14 with mods called College Football Revamped. Actually, we mentioned playing that video game before on the podcast, and one of our listeners or watchers on YouTube, viewers they call them, linked all the instructions to how to do this process. It's a little time consuming and complicated, and I did give up once and had to start over and try again, but eventually I got it, so it's pretty cool.
How much time in total do you think you spent between both times?
Both times combined, I mean, some of it's idle, just like waiting for stuff to download and whatnot, but probably 6 hours.
Nice. Wait, you had a give up and regroup?
Yeah. I tried like probably a month ago or more.
Okay.
And got to a point where I couldn't figure out what to do. This thing that was supposed to happen kept failing, and so I just gave up. But then I got the itch again, and I was like, I'm going to try one more time.
Look at you.
I got it to work.
Good job.
It's really well done. And I think they've actually, EA Sports, like hired some of the modders to work on the new college football video game. So maybe that's a good sign.
I can't wait for that.
We have a lot to talk about. We better get into it. Lots of news, lots of stuff already popping off in the college football off season. Big basketball game to talk about. Before we do any of that, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out our Patreon page, just like Tyler Harsel did. Big thank you to Tyler, who is our newest supporter at the $10 level. He's already been in the Discord, chatting with everybody. We love having him there. Thank you, Tyler. If you're interested, go to patreon.com/Missouri Sports Pod. First thing on my news list, Kyle, is Connor Bazelak, former quarterback, Missouri Tigers, going to the Big Ten, playing for the Indiana Hoosiers now. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a move that makes sense. You know, I think that it kind of made sense for him to move back a little bit closer to home and get a fresh start in kind of a Big Ten school. I guess makes a lot of sense. So we will see how he does. You know, I definitely think a fresh start for Bazelak could be good. I think he is a talented, smart quarterback, and maybe he was a little injured this year. I don't know. Things obviously didn't go as planned this year, but I definitely think he can be very successful somewhere else, and we wish him the best.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that it didn't end well at Mizzou. I think the fan base was definitely ready to move on, obviously a lot earlier than the coaching staff was, but yeah, I mean, even up until the bowl game, through the bowl game, he dressed for the bowl game, said he wanted to be available if his team needed him. Yeah. And hopefully he's got a good landing spot there in Indiana. I don't know anything about Indiana's quarterback situation, so we'll see.
Don't
either. Next thing, Gary Pinkel, you may have heard of him, has been, it was announced that he is going to be in the College Football Hall of Fame, inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. That's pretty cool.
Very cool.
All-time wins leader at 2 different programs.
Yeah, that's pretty rare.
Yeah. In the announcement post, there was Kansas fans trying to discredit Gary Pinkel's achievements because he never won a conference championship.
That sounds just like something they would do.
Why would they be talking about football, of all things?
I don't know. Probably them and probably Terry. All of them working together.
Probably. Oh, man. Terry has been accused of being an undercover Kansas fan. Unfortunately, I don't think that's actually the case. Next news item. Some folks named the Wittens gave a bunch of money to the Mizzou men's basketball program. $5.2 million to be exact. And for that, they got the naming rights to, of all things, the men's basketball head coach position.
I mean, this is next level weird to me. Like, $5.2 million to basically have the naming rights to the head basketball coach position. You know what $5.2 million almost is? $6 million. You know what $6 million is? The exact buyout for Konzo Martin.
For the Witten family men's basketball head coach, Konzo Martin.
Thank you. Yeah, we do things officially around here, so that's his official name now. I mean, what could we may really want to use this money for something else. I don't know what that might be in about 2 or 3 months.
It was kind of like eyebrow raising to see Konzo on Twitter like thank them for this gift. It's like like everybody reading that is like, that's going to go towards your buyout, right?
There was literally people in the like direct replies like, it's going, you're going to get fired.
But I had never heard of something like this before, but it was
either.
pointed out to me after the fact that this is becoming a popular thing in college sports. Makes sense to some extent, let companies or rich families put their name on stuff. However you want to get money for the program, that's fine. If anybody from the Witten family is listening to this, we will happily be the Witten family Missouri Sports Podcast.
We'll do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Name your price, and we'll do it.
Yeah, it's an interesting phenomena, but hey, whatever.
We'll take it. Let's see here.
Missouri is 1-0 since that happened too, by the way.
That is true. Yeah.
So.
Witten family men's basketball head coach Konzo Martin 1-0.
A little good luck charm.
Switching to football coaching, Mizzou hired a defensive line coach, formerly of Indiana, Kevin Peoples. But we're keeping Al Davis. So Al Davis will be, help me out, interior defensive line. Mm-hmm. Kevin Peoples will be edge rushers, defensive ends. So I guess I read later, Dave Matter tweeted that Al Davis has worked specifically with interior defensive linemen before, so that he's not a stranger to having the D-line split up between two coaches. And also, these two coaches have a history together. Kevin Peoples was actually Al Davis's defensive line coach when Davis played at Arkansas. So they probably get along pretty well. At first glance, this seemed like a really weird thing, but as more information came out, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, as we've gotten more background information, I guess I agree it's a little less weird. But when it first came out, it was just Missouri is hiring, what's his name, Kevin Peoples, as a defensive line coach. And there was no other news on Al Davis. There was no other information at all. That's all we knew. Yeah. And it was like, we have a defensive line coach, as far as I know. And Al Davis did a fantastic job taking over for Jethro Franklin mid-season. Mm-hmm. Trench mob, thank you very much. And I was kind of like, well, I think they promoted him officially in December.
Yeah.
Like, he's only been on the job for a month. What's going on? But I guess this makes a little bit more sense, and some of the background information is good to know. So I still think it's a little bit strange to have two defensive line coaches. No offensive coordinators in sight, but a lot of defensive staff members.
Well, they'll get a staff. Coach Drink will get a staff that he likes, that he can roll with for multiple seasons, hopefully at some point. Although some staff members were getting hired by other programs, which is usually a good thing, but you'd like to see a little bit of consistency, at least from one year to the next eventually. Looking at the football schedule for next year, there's been a change. The season was supposed to open with a road matchup against Middle Tennessee State, but that game is being replaced with a home game with Louisiana Tech.
Yeah, I think this is great news. I don't think Missouri should ever be going on the road to play a game against a non-Power 5 opponent. I thought it was weird whenever we went to Wyoming. Even before we lost the game, I was like, why are we doing this? We should never be going to...
Especially a place that's like notoriously difficult to go
and
play.
So far away. And I thought the same about Middle Tennessee State. It makes absolutely no sense. I know we scheduled a home and home or whatever. We actually lost the game against them in 2016 or whenever that was, homecoming. We lost to Middle Tennessee State, and then we were going to go play at their stadium next year, which just made no sense at all. And so Missouri was going to start the year off with 2 away games. They were going to go to Middle Tennessee State, and then they had a game at Kansas State after that. It's just not an ideal way to start a season with 2 road games, especially if one of those games doesn't go as you expect it and you lose, then you maybe don't get as strong of a home crowd to start the year.
Right.
I don't know. All around, this is far, far better, and I'm assuming they had to just pay to get out of this game.
That's what I'm thinking.
And honestly, I think this is a great move by the new AD, though. I'm all about it.
Yeah, unfortunately, there still are some road like non-Power 5 games on the future schedules. Maybe they'll try to get out of more of those, which would be okay with me, but that gets expensive after a while.
It almost felt weird going to Boston College, even though they are a Power 5 team, but which I was fine. That's fine. Yeah, we did lose that game, but
and we talked about. And Coach Drink talked about. It was made headlines back when the game happened about the fact that Missouri doesn't recruit a lot of players from Massachusetts. The same can be said about Wyoming. Tennessee makes more sense, but let's just stick to home games, especially to open the season. And Louisiana Tech was last in the Conference USA West division this past season. So hopefully we'll be starting out with a win. Speaking of changes to the football team, we've had some transfers in. We've had some offers go out to transfers from other programs. And we had 2 commitments. One from defensive tackle Jaden Jernigan from Oklahoma State, and another from defensive back Drayden Norwood from Texas A&M. So some reinforcements on the defensive side.
Yeah, it's, Jaden Jernigan specifically is a huge addition. It's going to be immediate impact. He was a consistent contributor for Oklahoma State this year. He was a top 10 team. That was not a transfer that they wanted to lose. I feel a lot of times transfers are not going to get a lot of playing time in their current situation, or maybe they're, I don't know. It's a lot of times for teams addition by subtraction when players transfer out, and that was not at all the case here with Jernigan and Oklahoma State. So I don't know how that comes together. I don't know why he wanted to transfer, but it's great news for Missouri. Norwood is from Arkansas. He was the number 1 recruit in Arkansas, according to 24/7 Sports in 2021 class, so just, I guess, last recruiting cycle. And he went to Texas A&M, didn't play. A lot of freshmen don't, especially at a place like A&M where they're bringing in, they had the number 1 recruiting class this year, so they're bringing in unlimited talent. It's really hard to see the field as a freshman. So he's got 4 years of eligibility, I believe, and so that's another great addition.
And then there was some offers handed out to some fairly big-name transfers. A running back transfer from Stanford, Nathaniel Pete, who is originally from Columbia, played high school ball at Rockbridge. Mm-hmm. So seems like a pretty decent shot there. Mm-hmm. And then a little bit bigger deal might be the combo USC, that's Southern California, transfers quarterback Jackson Dart and tight end Mike Trigg. Both announced that they are in the transfer portal. Both got a quick follow from Eli Drinkwitz, and Jackson Dart, the quarterback, followed him back on Twitter. And the Mizzou Twitter saw this, and now they are replying with Mizzou gifs under every single one of his tweets.
You gotta love Mizzou Twitter, man. They are.
I don't know if the like Twitter algorithm knows that I follow Mizzou stuff, so they put the Mizzou replies
At the
higher
top.
up. Is that
I believe
the
that's
case?
a thing.
Okay.
Yes.
Because you look and it's just like dozens of Mizzou tweets.
Yeah, it's probably people that you have, in a very roundabout way, interacted with, or interact with the same tweets, or follow the same people, that kind of stuff. So
Right.
that is probably true. But I do think that Missouri Twitter does a fantastic job doing their part in recruiting.
Right.
A quick note on Nathaniel Pete. From Rockbridge, you mentioned that. Put up big numbers in high school. Very productive running back. He has been pretty good at Stanford, mainly in the kick return game. He's been pretty electric in the return game. So if he were to come back home to Missouri, maybe that's something that he could do really, really well, which I'd be totally fine with. It's just having a really consistent, dependable punt return, kick return guy.
Mm-hmm.
This is, speaking of punt return, this is completely unrelated. I just thought of this. Luther Burden returns punts.
Yeah.
He's great at it. I don't know if I want Luther Burden returning punts. That's kind of a dangerous job that a lot of times is very hard to get any reward whatsoever in the punt game, even whenever you're great at it.
Yeah.
So, if there's somebody that maybe is a little less critical to the success of the offense that can still be really, really good at returning punts or kicks, I think that's a very important role.
Yeah.
We have a lot of running backs in the room right now. I don't know that we really are in desperate need of adding a transfer running back, but it wouldn't be. I wouldn't surprise me at all if Missouri did land Nathaniel Pete.
Yeah. Adding a running back that is coming from a Power 5 program, that's a local kid. I don't know. I think maybe Coach Drinkwitz and the offensive staff are still trying to figure out what exactly they have for running back next year.
Yeah.
Because we didn't see much from any of the backups this past season.
That's true. It could kind of be just to get a bunch of guys in the room and see who stands out.
Yeah. So what do you think? Are you saying all aboard on these USC transfers?
I don't know if I know enough about them to really have an opinion one way or the other, but if Coach Drinkwitz feels confident in bringing in a transfer quarterback, a guy who's been successful, I think I'm all for it. I think we talked a little bit about that these are human beings we're dealing with, and you don't want to just bring in a guy just to bring in a guy and mess up any chemistry in the room, and that's a very important position. Mm-hmm. And you want to get it right, and there's a lot of talent in that room of guys that have already been here. And so you don't want to mess that up. But if you can bring in a guy who's going to make a difference and can make your team better, then obviously that's something you're going to want to look at.
And the tight end position got even more important because Nico Hay has medically retired. So the tight end room is very thin. Bringing in a guy from USC at tight end, even without the quarterback,
right.
That sounds pretty good.
That almost might be more important. The tight end room is kind of scary right now. We saw, so Nico Hay has medically retired. We saw Daniel Parker Jr. Transfer to Oklahoma. Messiah Swenson transferred to Arizona State, I think. I
don't remember.
I'm not 100% sure where he transferred, but he is not at Missouri anymore. So that leaves, I guess he's going to be a either redshirt freshman or sophomore, Ryan Horskamp.
Yeah.
And true freshman Max Wisner. Yeah. So and also Gavin McKay. So who's going to be a freshman still next year. So 3 very young guys with very little game experience. I think Missouri has to add a transfer tight end, no matter what. It doesn't matter who it is. They need somebody with game experience.
Well, there was a guy that ended up committing to Akron. Well, he committed to Mizzou on Twitter.
A whole debacle.
But Mizzou was not ready to commit to him.
Yeah, TJ Banks, I believe is his name. Yeah. Put out a commitment graphic.
Where was he coming from?
West Virginia,
right,
I think.
Right.
And it was obviously not a normal Mizzou commitment graphic. And we quickly learned that he didn't really have a committable offer. So he deletes the tweet, ends up committing to Akron a few days later. It sounded like Missouri was really hot on the trail of Jake Tungs,
Yep.
I believe is his name, from California.
Yep.
Who ends up then announcing he's going to the NFL.
Yeah.
And
So he like entered the transfer portal, but also might have gone to the NFL. That was always a possibility.
Yeah, and it sounded like Missouri felt really good about landing him, and so whenever he went to the NFL, now they don't have TJ Banks either because he's now gone to Akron. So we got to find somebody, and that room it's interesting.
Yeah, maybe call up TJ and be like, hey, now that offer is committable. Sorry, Akron. Okay. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna leave the juiciest bit of news here for last. So a couple other things personnel wise. Case Cook officially made it official. He's not returning to Mizzou. Barrett Bannister, however, is returning for his 19th season as a Missouri Tiger.
Old man Bannister. It's what I'm going to start calling him from now on. I swear to God, he's older than us, and he's still playing football in college.
I thought for sure he was out of eligibility.
Oh, me too. I thought he'd been here already like 6 years.
Yeah.
Like actually 6 years.
But no, and I'll take him in a heartbeat. Yeah.
We're make no mistake, we're happy about
Yes.
it. We're glad he's coming back. He's
A surprise.
He's a third down machine.
But a welcome one. Yeah. Keep throwing it to him. Okay, so the big news of the week. This was a bit of a heartbreaker. Thank goodness we've got Jernigan coming over from Oklahoma State.
Oh my God, seriously.
Because Mekhi Wingo, at first team all freshman SEC, has entered the transfer portal.
So I know we're recording a little bit late because we were sick and everything last week. So this is a little bit of old news at this point. This has been beaten to death on Mizzou, the internet channels, and so we won't hover too long, I guess, on this topic.
Oh, we'll see.
We'll see. We might get me going, but I have to say this is a fairly devastating transaction that Wingo is going to be moving on. Is it weird that I just said transaction?
No.
It's a business, Kyle.
A turn of events. It seems it was very shocking. I'll just put it that way. True freshman who was not a super highly ranked recruit. He was a 3-star, a little bit undersized for a defensive tackle, but he came in and he worked really hard. He crazy weight room guy, super strong. And he ended up, being pretty athletic, good footwork and all that stuff. So he found his way onto the field early and often and ended up being one of our most dependable linemen. Seems like a situation where you're never going to lose that guy
Right.
in the transfer portal. He's getting all the playing time he wants. He's from Missouri. Why would this person leave? I mean, I can't
He
think.
didn't have huge offers out of high school.
No. I really can't think of a more surprising transfer in a long time.
You'd have to go all the way back to like Axel Congo on the basketball side.
Now that was shocking and even more devastating, but we've tried to bury that can. We don't want to bring that back
I'm sorry
up.
for bringing it up.
Yeah, you should be. Anyways, so there's a school in Baton Rouge called LSU. Robert Steeples works there as a defensive whatever.
Yeah.
He's on staff.
Yeah.
He used to be the coach at DeSmet when Mekhi Wingo was there, I believe.
Some people call him Mekhi, but
Well, I told you we're not going to pronounce his name right anymore. I'm just kidding. I know you're right. Mekhi Wingo knows Steeples pretty well, and so it seems like that may be the move. And I don't know if there was tampering involved. I don't know.
What is tampering?
I would just say tampering is whenever the coaches are having communication with a student.
Is that a real thing that's against the rules, though?
At Mizzou, I think it is. I think that he has to declare he's in the transfer portal before he can have communication with other coaches. And I don't know that for 100% sure.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly all the ins and outs, but I believe if he were to be contacted by another school while he's still at Mizzou, enrolled, all that stuff, I believe that's tampering.
Yeah. I'll be completely honest. I don't really care about tampering. It's frustrating when it's one of your guys leaving.
It is.
And like you said, a guy that had football-wise, he had all the playing time he could possibly want ahead of him. And, it's not often that like an lineman on the offense or defense is in a position to maybe start like every game for 4 seasons.
Right.
And it does seem a little weird with his measurables. Like a move to like an LSU for like just a guy that has elite measurables, but maybe hadn't put it together yet. He puts it together at Mizzou, then maybe moves on to just like guarantee himself a first round draft pick situation. I don't know. I don't know if Wingo can be like, I don't know, prove me wrong. I'm going to be rooting for you, believe it or not. But can he put it all together to be a high NFL draft pick with his measurables?
Yeah, first of all, it is like completely unprecedented for like a freshman to come in and be the best defensive line player that we have. I mean, that never happens. But to answer your question, I mean, yes, I still think that there's a chance that he could go on to LSU, be great, be very productive, even with maybe a little bit undersized measurables. I mean, you don't want to count somebody out like that because he is a great athlete still. I mean, it's not like he's slow or anything. He's very quick. He's agile and he's incredibly strong. But I do agree in some respect that I think at least maybe in his first season over at LSU, he could struggle to find consistent playing time. They get the guys they want at LSU, and those guys, measurable wise, are exactly what you want in an NFL defensive lineman typically. And I really do think that it's possible that he may have to see less playing time, at least in that first season or two at LSU. It should be interesting. I definitely don't see him having the same playing time that he would at Mizzou.
Right. I mean, there's just going to be more competition. I mean, the defensive line was already a little bit of a thin area for Mizzou.
Right. And,
we're not going to be bringing in 5-star guys at that position anytime soon.
Right. It is very possible that maybe Wingo just wasn't happy here.
He's basically said that.
Yeah, it's very possible that maybe he just didn't vibe with the coaching staff anymore. Jeffro Franklin was probably who recruited him to some extent. Yeah. He's not here anymore.
Right.
So, things do happen, and college football, there's a lot of turnover with assistant coaches and all that. And it seems weird. I think he did mention looking for some stability. It seems a little bit weird to look for stability in the transfer portal, but I don't know. Maybe he was on campus for an entire year. That's a long time to be somewhere that if you're not happy.
Yeah.
So whatever. It's been a weird week, and from a fan's perspective, it hurts, and that it's devastating from a defensive standpoint. But I hope that he is successful wherever he ends up. He did mention a top 4 of LSU. Oklahoma, Arkansas, and somewhere else that he's probably not going to go.
Yeah. What was it? I can't remember.
I don't remember, but it was a pretty lofty destination.
A premier program.
Yeah. If he goes to Arkansas, I will not be happy about that.
That would suck. Transfers in general are not usually all that surprising. So I think that's why this one definitely caught everybody off guard. Usually you see the writing on the wall to some extent. Okay, so that kind of brings us to, in with this conversation with him transferring, there's a little bit of saltiness from the Mizzou fan base, a little bit of pettiness, talking about tampering, talking about, did he have a NIL offer to get paid somewhere else to transfer there? And I think there's a lot of hand-wringing on Twitter right now regarding the transfer portal and NIL, and is college football going to collapse because of these 2 new things that we haven't figured out exactly how they're going to work. And Dave Matter posted a poll on Twitter, and I say only because he has a ton of followers, but it only got a little over 3,000 votes. But 53% of people said yes, NIL/transfer portal will destroy college sports.
So the question was,
will it destroy college sports? And 53% said yes. And the context of the poll was that Dave Matter had come from an event where all they were talking about was how NIL, transfer portal, it's going to destroy college sports.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously would have said no to that poll resoundingly.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is because it was a knee-jerk reaction to the Wingo transfer, and we have absolutely no idea if NIL was involved in that whatsoever. It may have been, and he hasn't even announced where he's going yet. So, I mean, maybe he already knows. But I think if you ask that, if he put out that poll 2 weeks ago, I don't think that yes has 53%.
Yeah, probably be 53% the other way at least.
Probably.
Well, what do you make generally of the environment right now?
Okay, I mean, things are changing, and it is a little bit of an adjustment. It's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm. Pretty fun.
It's fun, though, all the stuff going on. And in my opinion, I believe that the industry of college football, the administration of the NCAA, the coaches, that's where all the money is. They're exploiting free labor, basically, of these college athletes who are making them all this money with literally nothing financially in return except for a scholarship. In my opinion, I think these players deserve to be compensated for the business they are basically the star of.
Right.
And so I think it's a good thing for these athletes to be rewarded for that. I don't care what they spend their money on. If it's some fancy car, so be it.
Yeah.
Adults do that too.
Right.
What difference does it make? I don't care what they spend their money on. I think that's where we are now, and I think that's a good change that's happened for those individuals. Now, recruiting wise, it's a little bit of the wild, wild west right now. Doesn't seem super regulated. I don't know if more regulation will come at some point, but I do think that NIL can hurt Missouri, but I also think that it helps Missouri in a lot of ways too. And I'm sure Luther Burden is somebody you guys have heard of, and I don't think he's at Missouri without NIL. And so it goes both ways. Missouri's going to lose guys. They're going to get guys in NIL. I really don't think that it's going to make as big of a difference as some people think.
I'm going to tell you real quick what Nick Saban had to say. This is a tweet from Ross Dellinger on Twitter. He quoted Nick Saban. Saban says, "Name, image, and likeness is a positive thing for players. They've got the opportunity to earn money. I don't think that's a bad thing. What is concerning is how it is being used to get players to decide where they're going to school. I don't think that was the intention," end quote. Now, I think he's referring to the situation with Deion Sanders, just outright snatching five-star players from premier programs, but specifically his alma mater. But so I think that's maybe more of where he was going with that. But I just thought, I don't know, that seems a little disingenuous for him to think that wouldn't be involved in recruiting.
Incredibly naive of him to think that wasn't going to be the direction that it went. And honestly, I can see why Nick Saban's salty about it, because he has a stranglehold on recruiting as it is.
Yeah.
And things are going to change now where some of those top players have the ability to go somewhere else, a lower level of college football, if you want to say that, and make money and be successful in that way. And it just creates an opportunity for maybe a school like Missouri to go up and grab a 5-star Luther Burden because he can stay home and make a lot of money with NIL.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I can see why some of the top programs don't really like that, because maybe they're losing out on players they would have no trouble getting in the first place, like before NIL.
Right. Yeah, and it always goes back to me when people are worried about, the concentration of power in college football at the top. That was already happening,
right.
So it really couldn't get any worse.
Exactly. What difference does it make?
So let's. This new change, it couldn't really make the Alabamas, the Georgias, Ohio State's more dominant.
Right. I mean, Alabama and Georgia just played for the national championship last night.
Right.
They are miles beyond any other team in college football, and NIL didn't exist until a few months ago. Those programs got any player they wanted. So any change, in my opinion, is good change to try and just give somebody else a chance.
Yeah.
So.
No, I agree with you. I thought you might give me a take to argue against, but shockingly, we're on the same page on this issue. I think there's a little bit of hysteria just because it is a change. It's a new thing that people are going to have to get used to. And we don't exactly know the ins and outs of it, honestly. We don't know how everything works behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So there being a little bit of mystery to NIL, functionality
Right.
in like how the money moves around. Like we know kids can sell shirts. Like that's the easiest thing to see happening.
Right.
Transparently. But we don't know what, car dealerships and stuff are doing behind the scenes a little bit more.
We also didn't know what was happening beforehand either, and there was probably a lot of shady stuff going on. And I don't want to get like too political about this, but I mean, NIL hopefully kind of at least diminishes the kind of that black market of like what's going on under the table and brings these things to more of a public domain where it's actual business. Like these players are going to represent my company in advertising, and we'll compensate them. And I don't know. I think it's a step in the right direction. It is chaotic right now, but I think that it'll just become normal at some point, and I think that we're going to be happy that it exists, at least eventually.
And personally, I think the chaos is pretty fun. Make college football a year-round thing to follow.
Yeah.
Like, sign me up for that.
Are you mad that a 5-star wide receiver went to Jackson State instead of like Florida State? Like that? Who thinks that's bad?
Right. Exactly.
I think that's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. If Missouri's in the mix for a 5-star player and we lose them, so be it. We weren't getting very many of them to start with. Last bit of news here is that Kobe Brown from the basketball team, from the Missouri Tiger basketball team, was named SEC Player of the Week. Why? How could that have happened? Well, let us tell you. Mizzou basketball upset number 15 Alabama 92-86.
That was a fun game.
Wow.
That was a very entertaining game, and I did not see that coming in a million years.
Both defenses kind of just laid down a bit and just let the offenses do whatever they wanted. And Kobe Brown was like, okay, I'll do that.
Which you'd think that would be a horrible thing for Missouri.
Right.
To be in a shootout with Alabama. It's like you'd think one of the worst teams to be in a shootout with.
Yeah. But it worked out just fine. And Missouri was shorthanded. We knew, we thought they were going to be without 3 players, but it was just Amari Davis and Anton Brookshire that didn't suit up
I'm glad Coleman played too, because I think there was some suspicion that it was Coleman was the third, or maybe it was DeJuan Gordon was the third guy. And because he wasn't out at warm-ups or something like that at first before the game, and he ended up having a great game. So I'm glad we had him. Yeah,
this was a super entertaining game. Missouri started out the game on a 9-0 run, but then Alabama went on a 14-2 run. They eventually had a 43-37 lead, but then Missouri, for once, went on a massive 27-8 run. Usually Missouri's on the bad end of those monster runs, but we got one here, and then Missouri was able to hold on and win. And like I said, they were just able to get both teams to some extent, but Missouri was able to get just about whatever they wanted in the paint, especially Kobe Brown. 30 points, 13 rebounds, and 4 assists.
Yeah.
Obviously, we mentioned SEC Player of the Week, but, man, he really showed up. And if there was any doubt, I don't think there was any doubt before this that this is his team, but, man, he really showed it.
Yeah. Yeah, he was phenomenal. And really, I mean, just the whole team was playing fluidly. They still, I don't know how well exactly they shot, but they shot better than they typically do. I think they made 9 threes.
Yeah, way better. 9 for 24. That's 38%.
Yeah.
That's way better than normal.
Yeah. Trevin Brazil looks amazing. Yeah. He's like out there blocking shots. Yeah. He's versatile. He can score.
For a true freshman that we thought was a project.
Wow. Unbelievably high ceiling.
Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, you mentioned Coleman, 18 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. That's like a Drew Smith stat line.
Yeah.
He was 4 of 11 from 3. Some huge 3-pointers. Javon Pickett with 15 points, Gordon with 15 points, and then Brazil, 9 points, 7 rebounds, 3 blocks.
Yeah.
True freshman.
Nate Oates is still not won at Mizzou Arena.
It's his kryptonite.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's incredible.
It's like Mizzou and Ole Miss or something.
Yeah. Missouri out-rebounded Alabama 43-31. They had an assist rate, so they assisted on 61% of their made baskets. They had done 60% against Northern Illinois, and 54% against Kansas. But 61%, that's a good number. This Mizzou team is not, they don't really have an assist guy. They don't have a distributor, you know. Coleman is okay at that. Kobe Brown, honestly, pretty good, but we need him to score. He had one incredible pass, bounce pass from like under the basket to Coleman at the 3-point line. Coleman knocked down the three. That was a beautiful play.
That was. I even thought Caleb Brown played pretty well in this game. Like, just kind of distributing a little bit, just kind of running the floor, not doing anything too crazy. Obviously didn't provide a huge scoring punch or anything, but just didn't turn the ball over a whole lot or anything. Just kind of needed a very basic point guard performance just to kind of get the others involved.
Yeah, he played 18 minutes, only turned the ball over once. I'll take that with, you know, sort of kind of the point guard by committee situation we have. That'll work. The main thing I wanted to ask you about this game is, this may be a little too extreme of a question, but do we owe Kobe Brown an apology? The reason I say that is we have kind of talked about him as a guy that you probably don't want to be the best player on your team. Like I think I have thought that about this Kobe Brown this season. Is he the best player on an NCAA tournament team? I think before this game, I probably would have said no, but he's a strong contributor, obviously, who could be a vital piece of getting you there. I don't think I would have been comfortable with him being the best player on the team, but he showed that he could be the best player if you surround him with shooters and like a rim protector at the 5 spot. Then this team has something going on.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have a team full of shooters. We just have a team that happened to shoot well tonight or against Alabama. And then we have Brazil, who is a rim protector for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of a trick question. You know, we, for the most part, have been on Kobe's side, I think. And, yeah, maybe the most harsh thing we have said is that he probably shouldn't be your best player. Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. If Missouri has a better offense around him, then maybe he's dominant, not this dominant, but maybe he's very productive game in and game out. Just when you've got some floor stretchers who are, you know, if the opposing defense knows we're going to Kobe Brown every play, then yeah, I don't know that he would have the ability to supersede something like that. I don't think he's dominant enough to do that. But when the attention's not on him 100% of the time, when guys are knocking down threes and the defense has to step out, then yeah, I mean, clearly that opened things up so much just by Missouri making a few threes, just proving that the defense has to step out and guard them, opened everything up.
Yeah.
It looked like Konzo Martin's offense was like, oh wow, this actually works whenever people make shots. And again, this is one game, but it looked like a completely different team. It looked like Konzo Martin knows what he's doing and he knows how to design an offense just by some people knocking down shots. So, I don't know. I guess maybe we owe Kobe an apology, but I don't know that he can
a little bit strong words, but
I don't know that he can continue to win games by himself, though.
No, I mean, I think that's the thing. He's not going to win games by himself. He needs guys knocking down threes to make it work. And obviously, when he has an off game, somebody else is going to have to step up. And I don't see anybody, you know, Coleman having a good game, I think, is a direct result of how dominant Kobe was. He was drawing the defense into the paint and kicking it out. And if you can make the shots, you know, Coleman was wide open on some of those threes.
Yeah. So, I mean, has Missouri taken a step here, or is this just a complete outlier of our performance? I mean, are they starting to gel a little bit? Can we get excited about this, or... I mean, there's so many questions this is an insanely good win. I mean, Alabama's a really good team.
Yeah, this is, from Alabama's point of view, this loss is like harmful to their resume. So I don't know.
It's like losing to UMKC or something.
Yeah. Is this something we can expect moving forward? Probably not. I mean, we've got 13 other games where Missouri can't shoot the ball. at least this is a new ceiling for this team where if some shooters can knock down open threes, then it seems like we could be competitive with just about anybody in the SEC at least. We'll see. We've got a home matchup with Auburn in a week or two. That'll be a game that I think
Auburn looks really good.
That'll be a game to compare against this home game against Alabama.
I think Auburn might be the best team in the SEC.
Yeah, I'm kind of coming around to that as well. Yeah, I just don't see it sustainable. I mean, they shot 38% from three and moved all the way up to 352nd in the country in three-point shooting offense.
Yeah. I still think they've got to be better defensively, honestly.
For sure, yeah.
Especially, I mean, they're never going to do this ever again, in my opinion. This offensive explosion. I'm pretty sure they scored more points against Alabama than Paul Quinn. I could be wrong about that, but it was roughly the same amount of points.
Yeah, one more point against Alabama. Yeah, they scored 91 against Paul Quinn.
Wow, you looked that up really fast. Yeah, I don't think that's sustainable, especially the way they're playing defense. I think they just have to get a lot better to be able to consistently beat SEC level teams.
Yeah, I mean, coming away with the win kind of overshadows everything, but the defense, just like Alabama's defense was letting Missouri have whatever they want, Javon Quinterly was just driving for layups over and over and over again. So that's clearly not sustainable. He was just getting into the paint and then finding guys or just finishing himself. I mean, yeah, the defense, I don't know what's up with it. I mean, even with Brazil in the lineup, it's a struggle. Missouri's offense, their offensive efficiency on KenPom jumped like 30 spots, and their defense efficiency dropped like 10 spots.
Wow.
So,
and I would expect Alabama's offense is pretty high.
Yeah.
So it would have to be a horrible defensive performance.
Alabama is 8th offensive efficiency. Wow. So, but I mean, both teams just kind of driving for layups over and over again.
I guess. Well, it was a very fun game to watch.
Absolutely. So Mizzou improves to 7-7 overall, now 1-1 in SEC play. And they went from 161 in KenPom to 148.
Has anything changed with Konza Martin?
Oh, you mean like his
job
hot seat?
I mean, he's still on the hot seat, but I mean, has anything in your mind changed whatsoever that he can salvage his season, his job security?
I mean, no. I mean, could they? They'd have to like go 500 in conference play.
I agree,
and that's not going to happen. Dang, I had one more thing I was going to say. I don't know what it was. Oh, minutes. So down two guys that usually are in that 20 to 30 minute per game range, and their minutes just get absorbed by everybody else. You know, kind of like we talked about last time we recorded. Let's find 7 or 8 guys. Let's give 5 guys 30 to 35 minutes a game. That's kind of what happened in this game.
Yeah, Amari Davis is probably going like, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
I just lose my job. No, I agree with you, though. I mean, I think we've always talked about that I think we wished Konza Martin would kind of make the rotation a little smaller, really ride your best players. You don't need to play 10 guys. You don't need to play Wilmore.
That's for sure.
Just really let your best players play the majority of the minutes. Seems pretty obvious. Seems pretty straightforward, and it worked really well in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so coming up on the schedule, we have a road matchup with Arkansas. Arkansas 10-5 on the season, 0-3 in SEC play.
Yeah, they've kind of been struggling recently.
54th in KenPom, 46th on offense, 78th on defense. Yeah, they've lost 5 of their last 6, including to 123rd ranked Hofstra. So there's a chance.
At home against Hofstra?
No, it was a neutral site.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Arkansas is very good at home, so I would be I don't know. I still think this will be a very difficult game, but they have definitely shown some weakness. I think they started off the year very hot, but they didn't play anybody. They were playing all terrible teams.
Yeah, they had like 7 games against 200 plus KenPom teams. Yikes. Their offense is like pretty terrible at shooting threes. Not as bad as Missouri's, obviously, but they make up for it with their paint scoring. They've got like mid-range type guards that shoot a lot of twos. JD Note is their senior.
He killed us last year in the SEC tournament game.
Yeah, he transferred in from like Jacksonville, I think. I don't know if it's Jacksonville State or University of Jacksonville, but
I think it's Jacksonville State.
Sounds about right.
I don't know.
They have obviously a bunch of transfers. Musselman,
he loves doing that.
He's known for that. Although Konzo is like going step for step with him this year with the Missouri squad. Bunch of transfers there. I don't know. They're just pretty solid. They have lost some close games. They had a 1-point loss against Vanderbilt, 5-point loss against Texas A&M, a 2-point loss to Oklahoma. So they're in every game. They're crazy fast tempo. So I could really see them just, especially them playing at home, I could see it getting away from Missouri pretty quick.
Yeah.
If Missouri starts out cold at all, I think it could just get out of hand in a hurry.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if this is a 12 to 15 point game when it's all said and done. But, man, if Missouri can keep up some kind of offensive, efficiency, literacy, this could be a really fun game. Similar to the Alabama game.
Yeah.
Just maybe a little less offensive power, but, that's the high tempo, high scoring. It could be that if Missouri continues to shoot okay and continues to run good offense. And but I don't know. I just don't know if I see it 2 games in a row.
No, probably not. Do you think we need to give Jordan Wilmore some minutes, considering Arkansas has 7'3" Connor Vanover?
No.
Okay, we'll see how.
Vanover is not even like an inside player. I feel he just shoots threes.
Yeah, he's like on the season he's a 1 for 12 from 3.
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't he make like 7 in a game against us last year or something?
He's not playing a ton of minutes this year. I think he's maybe missed time with injury as well.
Okay. He is
not a huge factor for them.
He's a stretch 7'3" guy.
Yeah. Arkansas's got a lot of shifty guards. They've got one guy, Chris Likes, who is of course a transfer. He is 5'7". You heard me. But he hasn't done so well in SEC play. He had some really good games in non-conference. But honestly, I could see him.
SEC players are a little taller.
Potentially.
I want to see Jordan Wilmore standing next to this
definitely.
fella.
Somebody in attendance needs to get a picture of that. He's pretty crafty, though, and he is not afraid to shoot threes. He'll shoot from way beyond the 3-point line. He hasn't been getting as many minutes in SEC play, but I don't know. When you've got like hard-nosed guards, I feel like that's an area. We saw Javon Quinterly just dice up the Missouri offense or Missouri defense and get to the rim whenever he wanted. So I'm afraid we're going to see more of that from the Arkansas guards, and probably a lot of transition baskets off of Missouri missed shots as well.
Yeah, Missouri's got to figure out. I feel like that happened a lot against Kentucky. Just those long rebounds, bricking threes all day, and then of course the ball bricks off the rim really far, and then it just creates like a fast break opportunity. Like they have got to be aware of that and get back faster. So I don't know, whatever you do to stop those transition buckets they have to do. I don't know how. I think they did maybe they were making more shots against Alabama, so they didn't have to worry about it as much.
Yeah, but not as many long rebounds when it goes through the net. They will play another game before we record again. They will play on Saturday back home against Texas A&M. A&M, I think they're a better team potentially than Arkansas. Their efficiency ratings don't reflect it quite yet. But they are 13-2 on the season, 2-0 already in SEC play.
That's pretty surprising.
65th in KenPom, 83rd on offense, 60th on defense, and just complete opposite offensively from Arkansas. They are one of the very best three-point shooting teams in the country, 14th out of all Division I teams.
Very slow tempo.
Yep. So we're going to get to see how Missouri handles just back-to-back games against completely different styles of offense.
You know, it's one of the most frustrating things, other than the other team getting like an offensive rebound and like a putback or something, is when a team uses the entire shot clock and then just like drills a three at the end of it. Like, I feel like Texas A&M, we're going to see that a couple times from them because they really grind it out.
Yeah, they have a guard named Andre Gordon who is shooting. He's not really a volume shooter. They probably need to get him more looks because he is shooting 54% from three on 43 attempts.
Klay Thompson over here.
Seriously. And welcome back, Klay Thompson.
Welcome back.
Then they have another guard. He's kind of a wing player. He's 6'5", named Quentin Jackson. Not Quentin Rampage Jackson from the UFC.
Oh, thanks for the distinction.
Yeah, this is a different person. He's shooting 41% from three on 49 attempts. They're one of their point guards. They're their backup point guard, Wade Taylor, shooting 42% from three. They're just like all of their guards shoot it well. I don't know.
How does a coach get his players to shoot well? That's what I want to know. Oh man, what a great coach! They shoot threes well.
Yeah.
How did you get him to do that?
I have to ask Buzz Williams.
I guess.
Maybe we'll get him on the show and ask him, hey, Coach, how do you get your players to shoot threes good?
Does he still wear his little vests?
I don't know. We'll have to find out.
I want to see him sporting a little vest in Mizzou Arena.
Yeah, he's not as entertaining to watch. I feel like in Texas A&M colors as he was in like the blue and yellow of Marquette.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how
fiery little guy.
Yeah. Missouri's back at home.
Yeah.
They got a little something special going on their home court, I think.
Yeah. I think I'll say they lose to Arkansas by 12. Give me 76 to whatever 12 minus 76 is.
12 minus 76. Missouri's going to score negative 58 points.
Give me 76 to 64 for the Arkansas game. I think they're going to win against A&M, and I think they're going to figure out how to play a three-point defense, and I think they'll win by 3 against A&M. Give me like a 63 to 60.
Wow. Okay. I think I'm with you on A&M. I think the Arkansas game will be a little bit worse final score than that.
You predict a win against A&M?
Yeah, I think I'll go with you there. Back at home, right? That same court where you beat Alabama. Just do it again.
Do it again.
Do the same thing. Trying to figure out if there's any just real big red flags. One good thing about Texas A&M is they give up a lot of offensive rebounds. So we may be looking at some second chance opportunities.
Kobe Brown territory.
Yeah, exactly.
Kobe's going to have 30 rebounds.
But they also have the 9th best defense in
turnovers,
forcing turnovers. So that's not ideal.
That's brutal.
We'll see how it goes. I have a feeling they're going to knock down some shots, but maybe Missouri can hold them to, if Missouri can hold Texas A&M to like 75-ish points, then I think Missouri can be right there with them.
I feel like that would be a pretty high-scoring game for A&M.
Yeah. They've been looking okay. I mean, they beat Arkansas 86-81. But that's just because
they've really improved.
Threes are worth more than twos.
That's true.
All right, so they very, very easily could be 2 losses, but I'm really hoping they'll keep the home court magic alive against Texas A&M. Is that all for this week?
I think so.
One thing I forgot to mention, part of the reason we're recording in a weird time, obviously we had a delay last week, but this weekend is the Tournament of Champions, the best, I'm just going to say it, the best high school basketball tournament in the country.
That's bold.
Right here in Springfield, Missouri, hosted by Bass Pro. We're going to be there. We're going to be covering it. We're going to do a tournament preview episode. We're going to record that right after this. And then after the tournament, we'll do a wrap-up episode separate from the normal podcast, but it'll be right there in the normal feed. So if you're interested in a little bit of high school basketball, some of the best teams in the country will be there. LeBron James Jr. Ever heard of him?
Wow.
Bronny James will be there.
He's probably like the 4th best player that's going to be there.
We're going to interview him. Be like, all right, what do you think of Mizzou? Konzo Martin?
Ever heard of him? Interested? High character guy? Come on to Columbia.
Yeah, if you think you're tough.
Yeah, just wait.
Play for Konzo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So check that out if you're interested. There's a lot of big name recruits, and we'll tell you who to watch in that. Other than that, special thank you to our Patreon supporters at the $10 level and above: Britt Treese, Brian Smith, Ryan Lee, Tristan, Ben Smith, Parker, Daddy JD, Luis Hernandez, Tim Keens, and Tyler Harsel.
Thank you, gentlemen. We love you. And you can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. We're on Twitter at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
You can find our t-shirts and stickers on our online shop, MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. We will see you next week.